What happens when you take away social media from a generation that's already struggling with 20% unemployment, corruption, and inequality? In Nepal, it sparked a revolution. In just 5 days this September, Gen Z protesters brought down a government, stormed parliament, and changed the course of a nation's history. This is the story of Nepal's Gen Z revolution of 2025. Nepal, a landlocked nation nestled between China and India, has been struggling with political instability, corruption, and economic stagnation. But it's the young people who have borne the brunt of these failures. With youth unemployment at over 20% and limited opportunities at home, many young Nepalis have turned to social media not just for connection, but as their primary avenue for work, community, and voice. On September 4th, 2025, everything changed. The Nepal Telecommunications Authority dropped a bombshell, a nationwide ban on 26 major social media platforms. We're talking about Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, WhatsApp, LinkedIn, even Reddit. The government's justification was that these platforms needed to register with authorities before they could operate. But here's the kicker. This ban came at the worst possible time. A viral movement had been gaining momentum on Nepali social media, and it was hitting the powerful where it hurt most, their reputations. The Nepo Kids movement had exploded across platforms, with young Nepalis exposing the lavish lifestyles of politicians' children. Think designer clothes, luxury cars, and international vacations, all funded by what protesters alleged was corruption money while young people struggled to find basic employment. Imagine being a young person in Nepal, watching politicians' kids flaunt wealth on social media while you can't even find a job. And then suddenly, your primary platform for calling this out gets banned. That's exactly what happened. On Monday, September 8th at 9 a.m. local time, something unprecedented happened. Thousands of young protesters gathered at a busy intersection in Kathmandu. But this wasn't just about social media anymore. This was about everything that had been building up. The protesters had three main demands. 1. Immediate restoration of social media platforms. 2. Accountability for government corruption exposed in the Nepo Kids movement. 3. Real solutions to youth unemployment and economic inequality. What started as a peaceful demonstration quickly escalated. The images coming out were shocking. Protesters storming the parliament building, confronting security forces, and demanding nothing less than systemic change. But the government's response was even shockinger. The Nepal authorities made a catastrophic decision. Instead of addressing the protesters' concerns, they chose violence. Police opened fire with live ammunition, used water cannons, and deployed tear gas against largely peaceful demonstrators. The result was devastating. By the end of September 8th, at least 19 people were dead and over 300 were injured. Think about that. 19 young people lost their lives fighting for basic digital rights and government accountability. But instead of suppressing the movement, the violence only fueled it. Videos and images of the crackdown spread rapidly through alternative channels, and what had started as protests in Kathmandu quickly spread to cities across Nepal. The hashtag Nepal Gen Z Revolution and Justice for Nepal Youth began trending globally as international attention focused on what was happening. September 9th marked a turning point. Defying police curfews, protesters took over the streets of Kathmandu. In unprecedented scenes, protesters set fire to government buildings, including the Supreme Court and Parliament. Politicians' homes were attacked, and the anger that had been simmering for years finally boiled over. This wasn't just about social media anymore. This was a generation saying enough to corruption, inequality, and a system that had failed them. The international community watched in shock as one of South Asia's democracies seemed to be unraveling in real time. But the story takes a remarkable turn. On Tuesday, September 9th, facing unprecedented pressure and with his authority collapsing, Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli announced his resignation. In just 5 days, a youth movement that started over social media access had brought down a government. The social media ban was quickly reversed, but by then, the movement had achieved something much bigger. They had shown that young people, when organized and determined, could challenge even the most entrenched power structures. International organizations, including the UN, offered assistance to Nepal, recognizing that this was about much more than just protests. This was about the fundamental relationship between government and citizens in the digital age. But to truly understand this revolution, we need to look beyond the immediate triggers. This wasn't really about Facebook or Instagram. It was about dignity, opportunity, and voice. Nepal's Gen Z had watched their country's resources being siphoned off by corrupt officials while they faced a 20% unemployment rate. They had watched politicians' kids living lavishly while they struggled to find basic work. Social media wasn't just entertainment for them, it was their economy, their community, their platform for change. When that was taken away, it was the final straw. The Nepal Gen Z revolution sends shockwaves beyond South Asia. It shows us several crucial things. First, social media isn't just a luxury for young people, it's infrastructure. Taking it away is like cutting off electricity or water. Second, governments can no longer ignore digital rights. The internet and social media platforms are the new public square, and restricting them is restricting democracy itself. Third, Gen Z worldwide is watching. They're connected, organized, and they won't accept the status quo that previous generations might have tolerated. The Nepal Gen Z revolution will be remembered as a watershed moment, not just for Nepal, but for youth movements worldwide. What do you think? Do you see this as a model for other countries where young people are struggling with similar issues? And how do you think governments worldwide should respond to the growing power of digitally native generations? Let me know in the comments below.